Welcome in to the 48 Minutes podcast on Believe. I'm Ross Geiger, the former NBA video coordinator, and I'm joined alongside Bruce Bernstein, our four-time Emmy Award winner, who spent more than 3 decades at ESPN producing NBA shows, SportsCenter, and soaking up knowledge from the best hoop analysts in the business. Also joining us is the 2-time Emmy Award winner, Michael Worldby Freer, who is a senior writer at StatFactor, specializing in writing advanced statistical NBA reports for various announcers across the league. This is episode number 165, the Alex Reese episode, as the 6'9 forward wore number 65 for the Philadelphia 76ers after signing a 2-way contract this past February. Unfortunately, the Sixers waived Reese just last Wednesday. And speaking of the Sixers, we had some news break on Monday as Paul George underwent an arthroscopic procedure on his left knee after suffering an injury during a recent workout. George is expected to begin a rehab program and will be reevaluated prior to the start of training camp. I don't know about you guys, but being reevaluated before training camp sure seems like something we've heard out of Sixers camp before, maybe with Embiid, maybe even Ben Simmons. But Bruce, how concerned should we be, or should Sixers fans be, with this Paul George news and maybe his availability at the start of next season?
It's unclear at this point how serious this injury actually is. He suffered it in a workout. So we really don't know. I mean, the story that I read on The Athletic didn't really sound like they were in panic mode. But you know who's going to be pretty happy about this is Quentin Grimes, because Grimes has been kind of at loggerheads with the team about, re-signing him. And even though he's probably more of a 2, he has been known to play a little bit of 3. So if they need to beef up their small forward spot, they got a guy right there with Grimes that should be able to play some minutes if George isn't available at the start of the year.
Yeah, Kelly Oubre is probably happy as well, as he should get some more minutes and some more opportunity. Worldby, what's your take on this Paul George news?
Well, I'm for anything that makes Kelly Oubre happy, first of all. So I guess there is a silver lining to all this. When he signed the 4-year, $200+ million deal a year ago, injuries were the issue. It was the injury concern with this franchise, and we saw how that played out last season or this past season. If things don't work out and he doesn't get on the court, talent notwithstanding, if he can't be on the court a whole lot during these 3 remaining years, this is going to go down as the worst free agent signing in the history of the Philadelphia 76ers. And this is a franchise that once signed Kwame Brown to a 2-year deal. It's going to be worse than signing Kwame Brown. That's how bad this is. He just can't be on the court. If he can't get on the court, that talent just is of no use. And he'll be 36 by the end of next season, or this coming season, I should say. So, he's not getting any younger. Not everybody is LeBron James and finds the fountain of youth.
Yeah. Now, Bruce, you had an interesting question before we started rolling here tonight. Do you want to ask all our listeners and get our takes on the record?
Yeah. So, if he can piece together a couple more seasons, he will eventually get to 20,000 career points. So the question then becomes, is Paul George a Hall of Famer? Usually 20K gets you in, but not always. So what do you guys think?
I'll go first on this one. I don't think he is a Hall of Famer. I think he's a borderline one that is going to be in the conversation, but I think he's going to fall just short, even though that is a rarity, as you pointed out, Bruce. Worldby, what's your thoughts?
I think he's in the Hall of Very Good. I just don't think that it's in the Hall of He, as Bruce says, he has the credentials there. He's going to, if he can reach the 20,000 point category, he's got all the All-Stars. We forget he's been around the league so long. He's multiple All-Stars with the Pacers, multiple All-Stars with the Thunder, multiple All-Stars with the Clippers. So he's been one of the – you can make a case. I don't think he is, but you can make the case. He's been one of the premier players of his generation, this era of basketball. I just don't at any point see him as an elite player, a Hall of Fame caliber player, a very, very, very good player.
But he was probably the main reason that the Oklahoma City Thunder won the NBA championship this year, because when Sam Presti acquired him from the Clippers back in 2019, he got a boatload of assets, including a rookie guard by the name of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who had just finished his rookie year, and a bunch of draft choices, one of whom turned out to be Jalen Williams. So Paul George should get maybe he doesn't deserve a ring from OKC. Maybe he should get like a pendant or something from the team for his participation in the building of that soon-to-be dynasty, perhaps.
At least the thank you card, I think, is, in order for PG. Now, speaking of an undoubted Hall of Famer, let's talk about LeBron and, of course, his team, the Los Angeles Lakers, as the Lakers look like they are in a transition period, which leads to an uncertain future for King James. This past weekend, LeBron paid a visit to Sin City to support his son and his teammate, Bronny James, who's playing in Summer League for the Lakers. And when asked to join ESPN's Summer League broadcast, James stated he doesn't have anything to talk about. Not the greatest look. I mean, I'd be a little concerned as a Laker fan having to hear that. But, Bruce, what do you think is going on with LeBron and the Lakers right now?
Look, LeBron has to know that since the Luka Doncic trade, the franchise's future is in the hands of the new guy. But LeBron is a prideful man whose skills, even at age 40, are still among the very best in the world. And he thinks any team he is on has a chance to win a championship. But can the team make moves in the short term that cater to LeBron but risk setting the franchise up for hard times when he's gone? I mean, it's an excruciating choice for Rob Pelinka and the Lakers brass. Maybe they thought LeBron would give them a discount and take less money so moves could be made to bring in more young talent. But I really don't see LA trading LeBron and getting anything close to equal value at his age. So this drama is going to continue. We'll see where it goes. But, it feels like there's a little earthquake rumbling under the ground of Lakers Nation there.
Yeah, World B.
Well, if the Lakers want to have a future, it's going to have to be without LeBron James. That's just how it is at this point. They're building for a new era of basketball in Lakerland, as they've known to do, and it's going to have to be without LeBron James. What I could see happening, because in the summer of 2027 is when we have a couple of really big potential free agents out there, Giannis, our guy Giannis, and potentially Joker. With the news that he turned down an extension that would make him a free agent in the summer of 27. That frees up a team like the Lakers to want to make a move for one of these two. You can't do that with LeBron James on the team, I don't think. So I think this could be his last season in LA at the very best. I see him signing a one-year deal to get him through 26, 27. Then he fades off in the sunset. Somebody else comes in. But this team, really, if they want to really compete for a championship, I'm sorry, it doesn't look like you're going to do it with LeBron James on the roster anymore. I mean, they just, since they won the title in 2020, they've made it out of the first round once in the last 5 seasons. They've won 50 games twice in his 7 seasons there in LA. It's just, things are pointing towards, let's move on. I think everybody's just trying to figure out how to move on.
Yeah, and I think that how is trying to get rid of him, because I'm in agreement. I don't think this Lakers team can win with LeBron James moving forward. And I think they'd love to have that salary that LeBron's taken home, $50+ million, and allocate that towards role players they could fit around Luka Doncic, because that's what the Dallas Mavericks did. And when they did that, Luka took them to the finals. So if you can get Luka some nice role players to kind of grow and develop around him in Los Angeles, that's going to give you your best chance to succeed.
Well, they had a shot at a role player or whatever, and he lowballed Dorian Finney-Smith, who went to Houston for a 4-year deal when the best they could get out of him from LA was a 2-year deal. Why 2 years? Because that gets you to the summer of 2027 when they want to have as much cap space available to try and lure potentially some of these mega stars to their to LA. But they're going to also have to compete with the Clippers right down the street because they're trying to do the same thing, I believe.
Yeah, and let's talk about another 2-year deal, World B, and that was signed by Devin Booker with the Phoenix Suns. 2 years, $145 million max contract extension. While there's no debate, Booker is the face of the Suns franchise, can we at least admit it's odd that the NBA's highest annual salary extension in NBA history was just signed by a player that isn't a top 10 player in the league and hasn't been an all-star more years than he has been one? Bruce, what's your thoughts on this Booker deal?
Well, the contract extension kicks in after 3 more years of his current contract. So he's still under contract for 3 more seasons. And so including the 3 that he's signed for and the extension you just described, the team's going to owe him just over $316 million over the next 5 seasons. Now, Book has spent all 10 of his seasons with the Suns, but after they reached the finals 4 years ago, his teams haven't made it past the second round. And with all of that money dedicated to one player, I don't see any way this team's going to be able to bring in enough talent to compete in the Western Conference moving forward. So, look, they're going to have, Devin Booker probably play his entire career in Phoenix, but I don't see this team winning anything with all that money concentrated on Book.
Yeah, me neither. Worldby, what's your take on that?
Well, I think the money figure will be lessened somewhat, the impact as the salary cap goes up, as we talked on the past. The TV deals come in, the salary cap's going to rise. I think the salaries, me personally, I think the salaries will fall. And I don't think it's going to be a detriment to the Suns doing things going forward. I like the idea that Devin Booker clearly wants to remain in Phoenix with average salary of $70 million coming. Who wouldn't? But I think the Suns, want him there too. I think that's a real positive thing. And to me, we talked about a couple weeks ago. We couldn't figure out. Oh, the Suns are going to just hit the bottom. They got rid of KD. They're trying to get rid of Bradley Beal, that we'll discuss here in a minute. And it looked like a farce of a franchise. And now you start to look at it. You go, I got Jalen Green here. I got Mark Williams from the Hornets that the Lakers so badly wanted and later rescinded. I got some rookies coming in. They don't have – it's not a outlandish as bad of a roster I initially thought. I think there is potential there. A lot of things have to happen their way, but I think there's potential there to be a lot more productive and maybe win a few more games than they're probably going to get credit for from Vegas.
All right, so World B likes the over here early on in the offseason.
Yes.
I think they definitely have some talent there as well. I just hope for Book's sake, he doesn't turn out to be the Valley's next Larry Fitzgerald. Obviously a lovable player, legend in the Valley, but no rings to show for it. And Booker deserves better than that. Now,
I'll say this one more real quick thing. You say he's not a top 10 player, but I think he can get to top 10 status back again.
Sure,
this is a guy who was a first-team All-NBA not too long ago. At 24, he was leading the team to the NBA Finals there in a surprising move. So he has the potential. 7 straight seasons with 25-plus, and he's, 25, 26 right now, or 28. I'm sorry, he's 28. So that's still a pretty good thing to have on your resume going forward. I think he has that ability to get up to top 10 status. They loved him in the Olympics. He's going to be back there representing the U.S., you got to believe. So he has that potential to return to whatever elite status he's garnered before, I think.
Yeah, he's got to start with making an all-star team, though. He didn't make it one last year, and you got to make some of those ballots to be in that conversation, if you ask me. Now let's talk about a former all-star, and that is Bradley Beal. And did do some digging and learned a little bit into why this has maybe been a delay in Brad Beal's departure from Phoenix. Brad Beal is owed a 25% advance payment for next season's salary on July 15th. And that payment is worth more than $13 million. So, Bruce, I'd suspect that probably has something to do with the fact that we haven't heard anything about Brad Beal being waived just yet. Would you agree?
Yeah, look, the dysfunction in that organization is really, kind of getting a little bit out of hand. Last week, James Jones, who had been the head, guy, GM, team president, whatever, he left the Suns to take over as the executive VP for basketball operations at the NBA in New York. He had been the GM that helped build that team that made the finals in 21, but then he was kind of demoted in May. And Suns owner Matt Ishbia and their CEO Josh Bartelstein, they've been making the decisions since Ishbia bought the team since 2023. And you know what their legacy is? Their legacy is the disastrous acquisition of Bradley Beal, along with the trade for Kevin Durant. Now, the Suns missed the playoffs last season. Durant was traded, and now the Suns are praying that Beal will leave $13 million on the table so they can buy him out and stretch his contract to get some financial relief. And look, if the Suns can find a good destination for Beal, who has a no trade clause, oh, by the way, maybe it'll work out. But there's also a chance Beal will keep his money and stay put. And they control none of their own first-round draft picks for the rest of this decade. So if they can't figure out this situation really soon, they're going to keep circling the drain for the foreseeable future. And they have only themselves to blame. They sidelined James Jones. They made these decisions without him. Jones is now gone, and they got a big old mess to clean up.
Yep. And World B, I know you're optimistic about the Suns' future, perhaps, but are you optimistic about Brad Beal in Phoenix?
Well, I'll say this about Bradley Beal. As someone who has felt the sting of disloyalty from his employer more than once in my career, Bradley Beal is becoming my favorite all-time player here. As Bruce mentioned, he's got the no-trade clause. He's holding Phoenix to their feet to the fire, if you will, waiting for the $13 million advance to clear before he does anything. He holds all the cards. What a great setup for him. He's got this ridiculous contract that he worked out. He's got a no-trade clause, as we mentioned. He's waiting for $13 million. The Suns have to beg him to take a cut so he can get out of town. It's just unbelievable. I love it. I used to, Bradley Beal used to be the butt of everybody's jokes because of his contract. Not for me. I think he's get as much as he can. Make them sweat it out. Wait until September if you want to get bought out. Just keep in shape, and somebody will come knocking on your door.
Now, hey Ross, look at the good side. I mean, that team might be so bad, you might be able to buy some tickets really cheap out there.
Yeah.
So that you
might be
get
going.
into the game like $10.
There, they'll have to raise the prices to pay off that deal.
No, Matt Ishbia is actually, I got to give him some credit. He is doing some cool things within the arena. I mean, he has a whole concourse set up for $2 hot dogs, $2 popcorns, $2 waters, and he's doing some fan-friendly stuff. So I got to give him some credit on that. But as far as the product,
he doesn't have anything to show. Doesn't have a product to go see.
Yeah, that is.
Go to the gas station, get $2 hot dogs.
Yeah. Well, you brought it up.
Maybe they'll have Xanax night one night this year, so that the fans can deal with their deep depression.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say you brought it up, but I mean, I bet you wish you would have had a no fire or no trade or no waive clause in your contract too from previous stops, as you mentioned. Like you would have said, "No, I'm good. I'm just going to keep working here, and you're going to pay me."
I really thought I thought it was just a given a couple of times, but you get reminded so quickly how important it is to have a no trade clause in your contract.
Yeah. All right, now let's go ahead and get to the reigning NBA champions. Let's talk about one of the top teams in the NBA, and that is the Oklahoma City Thunder, who locked up their big three for years to come in Oklahoma City. Each of those guys earning max contract extensions. And I'm particularly curious on your thoughts on these three deals. And, that one from Chet, 5 years, $250 million. Any concerns with that one, just kind of given his injury history, Bruce?
Well, I would like to kind of compare what's going on here with this team to a team that's very, very near and dear to my heart. Okay. So last summer, after the Celtics won the championship, they signed Derek White and Drew Holiday to lucrative long-term deals, adding those big numbers to the huge deals that had previously been signed by Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, because, it looked like they had maybe a 3 or 4 year championship window that was wide open, okay? The team knew there was going to be a reckoning at some point with the huge penalties the team would have to pay on top of that monster payroll, but maybe it seemed worth it, to have a team that would be right there for years in the future. We know what happened, though. They lost Tatum for all of next season, and they couldn't keep a championship roster that was going to have a $227 million payroll and a $238 million tax bill. Would have cost them close to $500 million for a team that is not probably going to win the championship. So enter the new NBA champions, the Oklahoma City Thunder, who recently rewarded their big three of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren with contract extensions worth a total of, wait for it, $822 million. Okay. They're currently under the luxury tax, but when these new deals kick in for the 26-27 season, OKC's payroll is going to be around $246 million, which will exceed the first and second aprons. So while they're on the path to big luxury tax payments, they have done a great job with their use of non-guaranteed deals, which is going to help Sam Presti navigate the financial realities and continue to maintain a championship-level roster. The team also, as we know and have discussed numerous times on this show, they have stockpiled a lot of draft assets, which are going to allow them to retool their team with young talent if they do have to offload some salary at some point. You can't run a franchise any better than Sam Presti and the OKC management have run this team. All you can do is just admire it. And I don't think anyone there's worried about that $822 million. They know they're going to be able to work through things.
Yeah, no doubt. I think the way they're running it's been great. And as you mentioned, Bruce, before I get to World B, $822 million. They locked up SGA, Chet, and J-Dub. They got all three for less than World B's Mets got Juan Soto for. So that's pretty good, right, World B?
No, they can produce like my man Juan Soto. They'll be just fine. So far, with the MVP in the league, they're on their way.
Yeah.
As Bruce mentioned, this is the best run franchise right now in the NBA. So to question anything that they do at this point, given their track record and their success, would be kind of silly here. The great thing is they've set themselves up where if they decide to go over the second apron, which we've talked before is kind of in so many franchises, just the ultimate no-no. It's just a way for your franchise to really get crippled. But they've set themselves up where it may not have, as long as you don't mind paying the luxury tax that comes along with it, the penalties of having draft picks go down to, from down to the bottom of the first round, not being able to use a mid-level exception, things like this. They don't need necessarily that much on their roster at the moment. They have 95% of their minutes from last season coming back, projected to come back next season. That's unbelievable. And so they're in position to go forward just fine. As you mentioned, Sam Presti's the best in the business. So I don't think they're worried about the second apron, but I think they have a plan in place to deal with it. And as long as ownership is behind them, and you look from ownership to GM to head coach to the roster, it's a really fluid, as good of organizations you have in the league right now. And there's no reason to think 5 years from now, they'll have it all figured out with a plan they already have in place.
Yeah, and the beauty with all the assets that the Thunder do have is if they make a contract mistake or need to get rid of a guy, they've got a flurry of picks to be like, hey,
absolutely,
you take this guy off our hands, we'll give you 3 draft picks and call it a day. So they've got some strikes to play with as far as I'm concerned.
I agree.
So, great point there. All right, World B, I'm turning it back to you here with the Uno reverse card as Knicks head coach Mike Brown wants the team to play faster next year. That came out this past week. So I ask you, is it time to turn on the Jets in New York? That was one of my favorite questions to ask Mike Brown when he came on 48 Minutes about the turn on the Jets moment in Sacramento. So what's your thoughts on the Knicks doing the same thing?
Well, I don't really like the Knicks being associated with the term Jets there in New York. I just assume not have that. That aside, I don't have a problem with it. I'm not going to question anything Mike Brown wants to do with his team to try and get them to that next level, and the next level being a championship or at least a finals appearance. It's hard to figure if they can do it or not. They have on the one hand, they were near the bottom, or they were near the bottom in possessions last season. Possession per 48 minutes, they call it pace in the analytical world. You average about 98 possessions a game per 48 minutes, 97 a game. So that was about bottom 5 in the league. On the other hand, they were one of the best teams in transition last season. They had over 18% of their possessions were in transition. That was the second highest in the league. And they were middle of the pack in transition, but they were second in the league in efficiency on transition. They were one of the best teams at scoring off transition. So they have that capability to be effective getting up and down a little bit. We know Mike Brown likes to have the Kings going up and down when he had the roster to do so. I can see this team playing a little more up tempo. It doesn't mean Karl Anthony Towns has to be running up and down the court. It doesn't. That's not what it means. But I got Jalen Brunson. I got Mikal Bridges. I Josh Hart. I can get up and down with the best of them if I if I want to do that.
Yeah, Bruce, what's your take on that?
As World B mentioned, their pace was pretty slow last year, and because Coach Thibodeau mostly used like 7 guys in his rotation, that allowed them to conserve a little bit of energy, and that they weren't always in a dead sprint up and down the court. But I think what we saw in the playoffs is how that kind of came back to haunt them, because when they had to play faster against Indiana, Tibbs tried expanding the rotation like halfway through the Pacers series, but guys like Landry Shamet and DeLon Wright hadn't played enough minutes along the way to really be at their best under the bright lights in the conference finals. So the team has addressed that. I mean, they picked up Jordan Clarkson and Gershon Yabusele, solid bench guys. So that should allow Mike to punch up the pace a little bit. It's the right move for so many reasons, especially because it reduces the wear and tear on Iron Men like Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges, and also gives Mike 2 more guys with major regular season minutes under their belts, which means they'll be better prepared for pressure moments in the playoffs because they're used to playing big minutes, or at least significant minutes. So yes, there's a lot of good things that have happened, at least that I can see, with this hire and with their moves to bring in more reserve help.
I'd agree with what both of you guys had to say. I just think the key to Coach Brown's plan or hopes with this of playing more up-tempo is Mitchell Robinson. You got to have a running big, a guy that can block shots, deflect them, knock them out to your forwards and guards and push the pace. So really hoping he can stay healthy next season to help them accomplish their goal of playing a little bit faster. And I guess my eyes will be set on Karl Anthony Towns if he's able to kind of keep up with that pace over the course of an 82-game season.
But you know what they do, and I'll tell you what they do. When they try to get up and down, Karl Anthony Towns would be trailing a play, and they feed him for a top-of-the-key 3, which worked out really effectively at times during the playoffs in that series against the Pacers. That was a really effective move. That's another situation. He doesn't have to be up running and gunning up and down there. He can be the trailer, but you better watch him as a trailer.
Yeah, great point there. And I'm glad you mentioned the Pacers, World B, because that's the next topic here tonight as they re-signed big man Isaiah Jackson, who now joins Jay Huff and James Wiseman at center on Indiana's depth chart. So of these 3 guys, Bruce, who do you think will step up and be the biggest surprise for the Pacers next season?
So you're disregarding Tony Bradley and Thomas Bryant, huh? Because they got 5 centers if you figure those 2 guys in.
Did Thomas Bryant get re-signed?
I don't know if he's been re-signed. He was on their team last year, so. Okay.
I'm not giving Tony Bradley any consideration, no. But I would.
Well, look. Wiseman is the guy that, I know World B mentioned last week. He's really kind of rooting for him. He played 1 game for those guys last year, and he, injured his Achilles. Boy, has that become like the injury du jour around the NBA. So, look, Wiseman obviously has the most potential, certainly as far as rim protecting. Huff is a nice player. We talked about him last week. He can stretch the floor a little bit, but he doesn't rebound. He doesn't block shots. I don't know. I mean, I don't see any of those guys really coming close to filling what Miles Turner gave them. So, Indiana is going to take a step backwards, I think, next year, kind of similar to what Boston's going to do. They may be battling it out to avoid the play-in tournament.
World B, you got a bold prediction on which 3 of these big men could surprise us?
Well, they did. First things first, they did re-sign Bradley. So that mystery is solved. Thomas Bryant appears to be on the way out. So I don't think you can have 5 centers on the roster. I just don't think it's kind of having 4 catchers on a baseball roster. I just don't think that's really doable.
More is less. Is that what you're saying?
In this case, absolutely. Certainly in this case, when you have Isaiah Jackson, Jay Huff, and James Wiseman, collectively, they're not going to make anybody forget about Miles Turner or even Rick Smith from previous generation there. So they're going to take their lumps in the middle. And as we mentioned, I'm rooting hard for James Wiseman. I really want him to work out. If there's anybody who deserves to have a healthy season, it's James Wiseman in this league. So we'll see how it works out. Even if it's 10, 15 minutes a night to keep him in there, I'd like to just see him on the court a lot. Let's see what he can do for crying out loud. I just need to see him on the court to show off why he was the number 2 pick.
Yeah, we've never really gotten that opportunity. So best of luck to James Wiseman next year in Indiana. Now back to you, World B. We got some exciting news out for us Bucks fans out there. Cole Anthony is going to be bought out by the Memphis Grizzlies and intends to sign a 1-year deal with the Bucks. And I know that you've always been a huge Cole Anthony fan, so I assume you have to consider this an impressive addition to the Bucks offseason, just kind of given the restraints they have with their cap. But tell us more about how you think Cole Anthony might fit with the Milwaukee Bucks next year.
I think he'll be a good guy starting or off the bench. As you guys know and listeners know, I've followed the Magic for a number of years now since I moved to the Florida area, and I'm catching them at the right time now as they seem to be a very popular team to pick. But one of the things I was critical of them, I don't think they really gave Cole Anthony a fair shot last season. He really sat the bench. When they were all healthy, he was riding the bench, and even when they suffered with injuries, it took a lot to get him on the court. He only played about 18 minutes a night, and when he was there, he had moments. He had 8 or 9 20-point games last season, and I'll never forget, Magic fans, last December, they had a humongous 25-point comeback against Miami, and Cole Anthony came off the bench from out of nowhere and scored 35 points in 28 minutes and really led them on a charge. We saw what he's capable of. He can put the ball in the basket, and if Milwaukee's going to be in need of scoring help, he's a guy that can do that. He's fearless. He's only going to do it in periods. His inconsistency is an issue, but I just didn't think he got enough time in Orlando, and I have a feeling in Milwaukee he'll get some more opportunities.
Yeah. Bruce, what do you take of this signing for the Bucks?
I mean, Cole needed a change of scenery, and it appears that he's landed in a good place. I mean, after moving from Orlando to Memphis in the Desmond Bane trade, the Grizzlies, basically bought him out, and he's landing in Milwaukee. He's a streaky scorer, as World B sort of described. But this guy was a starter for the Magic in his second season, and he averaged like 16, 5, and 5 that year. But he's mostly come off the bench the past 3 seasons, averaging just over 11 a game. I mean, he's only 25 years old, and he's not a classic point guard, even though he's 6'2", but he's a good rebounder for his size. He takes pretty good care of the ball. He's a scrappy and sometimes chippy defender, and he's not going to pass up any open shots ever. It's a low-cost, low-risk pickup for the Bucks. I think there's a lot more upside than downside for both Cole and for Milwaukee.
Yeah, and let's face it, these are the type of swings the Bucks needed to make. Finding some names that might not have gotten an opportunity elsewhere, kind of like Kevin Porter Jr., who came from the Clippers at the deadline, provided them a spark. Cole Anthony is getting the opportunity that he's been wanting for so long on a team that's looking to still contend. I know a lot of people aren't calling them contenders, and rightfully so, but he's going to get a chance to join a core to really be a factor in their success this year, alongside, of course, one of the best players in the NBA and Giannis. So he's got to be excited about this opportunity. And I don't hate the fact that he even knows the personnel in Orlando that well. So, I mean, that could be a benefit to the Bucks at some points throughout the season too, just knowing some of the sets they like to run or defensive schemes that they do. Having Cole Anthony aboard could be helpful. And last but certainly not least, we've got to talk about the NBA Summer League in Las Vegas, as that is currently underway, and get into a little bit of our Summer League news and notes. And starting that out is going to be the Dallas Mavericks and their decision to shut down number 1 overall pick Cooper Flagg from Summer League just after 2 games. In the first game, he seemed to struggle a bit, but the second game, he turned it on. He ended up averaging 20.5 points, 5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 1.5 steals, and a block through those 2 contests. But Bruce, I'll start with you on this. Do you think this was a smart choice to play it safe by sitting down Flagg, or do you think he should continue to be playing in Vegas Summer League?
Cooper Flagg has nothing to prove in the Summer League. He shot just 5 for 21 in that first game, but he scored 31 the second game. Everyone got a look at him, and now it's bubble wrap time for the overall #1 pick. He showed what he could do at Duke and in those 2 Vegas games. Now just get yourself in the weight room, get on a good diet, and get ready for October.
Well said. World B?
Yeah, I think you just want to make sure if you're Dallas that he doesn't look completely overmatched for some reason, which I'm sure if that was the case, they would have been shocked. We all would have been shocked. And he showed that he belonged in the Summer League, obviously, and we saw him last season practicing with Team USA. He belongs at this level. He's ready to go. He was ready to go last year. So, he, as Bruce mentioned, 31 points in a Summer League game. That's, it's a Summer League. I get it, but that's no small potatoes. He's only 18 years old. So he showed what he could do. And even on a night where, his first game when he struggled from the field, he had a key block down the stretch. So we saw his defensive ability. I mean, this is a guy, he's probably never going to lead the league in scoring, never lead the league in rebounding, never lead the league in assists. He's just going to do all 3 things really, really well and be a multiple all-star and be a difference maker at both ends of the court. So I'm looking forward to, I've enjoyed watching him play at this level. I don't usually get excited to watch the Summer League, but I enjoyed watching Cooper Flagg play, and I'm looking forward to it once the season begins.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, 31 points, Summer League or not, is no small feat. I mean, the fact that in Summer League, all eyes were on him. So the opponents were putting their best defenders on him. When it comes to actual NBA games, when hopefully he's sharing the floor with Anthony Davis and even D'Angelo Russell, it's going to make his job that much easier. So if he's able to do 31 points in the Summer League and be the main attraction of attention from defenses, I mean, look out. I mean, anything's possible next season as a rookie with the Mavs.
Here's a great thing about him. We've heard about him since he was at Maine in high school. And he went down to Florida, to Montverde High School, where they had this powerhouse program, and he was a star. He wasn't overmatched at that level. We saw him last season playing with Team USA, warming up for the Olympics, as they were warming up for the Olympics. He wasn't overmatched there. He goes to Duke in his freshman year. He's the best player on Duke. He leads into a Final Four. He's not overmatched. Every stop he's had, he clearly belongs. He's ready to go to the next level. He's never been too nervous. He's never been, that I can't handle this moment. He's ready for the NBA, and that's one of the joys that's going to be following a #1 overall pick who's going to get all the hype. He doesn't look like somebody who is – we've seen him do – we saw more of him than we saw Victor coming into the NBA just because his stops in high school and college. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Now, I think we're all in agreement in the decision to sit Cooper Flagg for the rest of the Summer League. But next up, we've got the Phoenix Suns, as both Ryan Dunn and their recent top draft pick, Kaman Maluich, sat out the Suns Summer League game on Sunday afternoon in, quote, to balance their minutes, as the Suns have another game on Monday. So they had a back-to-back in Las Vegas, didn't want to play their second-year guard or their recent top draft pick. But Bruce, any thoughts on this decision? I mean, don't you think their big man out of Duke should be getting as much run as he can?
Load management for 18-year-olds in Phoenix. Kaman Maluach sat out Sunday, as you said, so he wouldn't have to play that back-to-back. Ditto for Ryan Dunn. I mean, look, it's not a fatigue thing. It's an injury prevention thing. That's really it's much ado about nothing. We can just make a few jokes about load managing 18-year-olds.
Yeah. Well, I think you said his name a lot better than I did. So
Kaman Maluach.
I'm not saying it at all until at least December.
Come on. Yeah, well. Kaman Maluach.
I had it and then I lost it. That's just how it is.
Hey, we're in the off season. We're training too, Bruce. This is Summer League for us. World B, what's your thoughts on this decision by the Suns?
I'll tell you what, because it's the off season, some of the topics that come out during the summertime in the NBA really need to be attached with need to come with a laugh track like they use in TV sitcoms, because it just gets more and more absurd as we go further and further along in the summer. It just makes me look more and more forward to training camp and getting out of July. At least last year we had the Olympics to fall back on. We don't have that this year, so we'll have a longer break from basketball, which can only mean more absurd topics to come. Thank you for the Phoenix Suns for adding to that list.
Nicely said there. Now, last but certainly not least, on the Summer League, I thought it'd be fun if we all picked one NBA Summer Leaguer that's caught our eye for better or for worse. So, Bruce, why don't you start
that'd be fun, huh?
Your pick? Yeah.
All right. As the resident New Englander on this show, I want to give a shout out to Cole Swider from Portsmouth, Rhode Island. He's played a total of 35 regular season games over 3 seasons with 4 different teams: the Lakers, Heat, Pistons, and Raptors. He's on the Lakers Summer League roster, and he's played really well. He had 21, 10, and 4 against the Pelicans on Saturday, shot 4 out of 9 from downtown. He had 22 and 10, including 6 of 9 on threes against Dallas. If he can make threes and grab a few boards like he has in his first 2 games, the 6'9", 26-year-old could earn some minutes from J.J. Redick, as unlikely as that sounds. But good luck to you, Cole Swider from Portsmouth, Rhode Island.
Nice selection there, Bruce. World D, have some fun with us. Who's your player?
Oh, for me, it's Asa Newell of the Hawks. He had a really good game against the Suns the other night, 18 points, also had 11 rebounds, only needed 8 shots to get to 18 points. Had just 1 turnover in 26 minutes. But my real thing I'm paying attention to watch him for, and the reason I want him to succeed, is just a further drive home the point about the ineptitude that is the New Orleans Pelicans front office there. The Hawks traded down, if you forgot a couple weeks ago, they traded down 10 spots in the draft to get a guy they could have gotten at the same spot at 13. And they got an unprotected first-round pick next year from the Pelicans to do that. So the kid looks like he's going to be a player on that team and to get an unprotected first next season. Bravo to the Hawks and Asa Newell. And I hope, on top of everything, he's a Georgia guy, so that adds to the fun down there in Atlanta. So I'm looking forward to seeing him do well on a team that could very well be much improved in Atlanta.
Yeah, great choice there. As for my pick, I'm going with Walter Clayton and his 21-point performance on Friday against the Charlotte Hornets, World B of all teams. Clayton did a little bit of everything in this one. On his way to shooting 8 of 17 from the field, he showcased his range from deep, draining 4 3 balls, remained composed and on balance on his mid-range pull-ups in traffic, and even showed off his soft touch with his points in the paint. This year's 18th pick overall, fresh off leading the Florida Gators to a national championship, is a guy to certainly keep an eye on moving forward into next season, as well as the Jazz immediately traded Colin Sexton to the Charlotte Hornets. So expect to see Clayton get some more immediate opportunities to shine in Utah next season. He could be a steal in this year's draft. Now, last but certainly not least, Bruce, I know you've got some noteworthy final thoughts to share with us, so I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Ross. I was invited to the Basketball Hall of Fame twice last week. As expected, I'm not being inducted, but I did have a chance to host, I know, right, 2 sessions of the Hoop Hall Hangout, which is a summer program where hoop legends are interviewed in front of a live audience and interact with visitors to the Hoop Hall, most of whom are kids. Last Tuesday, I interviewed Bulls coach Billy Donovan, who's going to be inducted in September with the class of 25. Coach appeared virtually on a big screen and told great stories from his coaching career. And then last Friday, I had the great pleasure of interviewing Lakers legend Michael Cooper in person. Coop was inducted with the class of 24. It's always an honor to do anything involving the Hall of Fame, and I hope to be invited back. And in fact, I got a call on Monday. They'd like me to come back next week. I'll be talking to Sylvia Fowles, the WNBA and former LSU star, who's being inducted in September. And now a programming note. Coop has agreed to appear on next week's episode of the 48 Minutes podcast. As all of us and many of our listeners know, he was on all 5 Lakers Showtime championship teams in the 1980s. And his stories about Magic, Kareem, Kurt Rambis, Byron Scott, James Worthy, and Pat Riley are going to take all of us behind the scenes with one of the great NBA dynasties of all time. So I hope our listeners will, pencil us in for next Tuesday in the wee hours when the great Michael Cooper joins Ross and World B and myself. We can't wait.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome to have Coop on the show. And just before I shut things down, Bruce, you mentioned you haven't gotten the call to be put in the hall just yet. But I know you've worked with a lot of cool people throughout the years at ESPN. But if you were to get in, what are the chances me and World B can do your opening remarks?
You would be my escorts. I mean, you would have to, everybody has an escort. In fact, I was going to ask Billy Donovan who his escort was going to be, even though I kind of know who it's going to be. But the Hoop Hall asked me not to do it because they like to make that a news note. But anybody who's followed Billy Donovan's career closely can pretty much guess with certainty who his escort's going to be, and we won't say that person's name out of respect to the Hoop Hall.
There we go. And with that will do it for this edition of the 48 Minutes podcast on Believe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back with you next week with Michael Cooper to be sure you're up to date in 48 on all things around the association. Take care, everyone.